Slightly unexpected video today. I was planning on having a lazy day. Fancied a game of Grand Theft Auto this morning. And unfortunately, after an incident a few weeks ago where I managed to spill a cup of coffee all across my desk, this controller has found itself a bit on the gummed up side. As you can see, the buttons are going down, they're not coming back up, so there's some dried coffee in there, unfortunately. A victim of my caffeine addiction, probably more addicted to that than gaming, so I'll take that over a game of Grand Theft Auto, but very frustrating. So yeah, I'm just going to take it apart, clean it out, hope it still works. It's never been in bits before, it's a fairly new one, so it might be a bit tight. From what I'm led to believe, you have to take these covers off. There's some security Torx underneath that. Take it apart. I don't have any isopropyl alcohol. I keep meaning to buy it for situations such as this, so I'll have to improvise something. I do have some cotton buds. Contrary to popular belief, water doesn't damage circuit boards. What does damage circuit boards is electricity and a conductive substance, i.e. water with ionization in it, or anything that conducts. So if I take the batteries out, I can possibly use some water to clean it out, as long as there's not too much residue. If it's filtered or deionized water, it'll be fine. Make sure it's thoroughly dry. If I put it back together, it should be okay. So what I'm going to be using to achieve this is a set that I got from, I think it was Amazon actually. It's very similar to the iFixit kit. iFixit make very good tools for dismantling electronics. This is obviously not the genuine one, although I would support iFixit, purely because they're ambassadors, I suppose, of the right to repair movement. So they support the ability to fix your own stuff rather than having to take it to like an authorized service center or whatever, which is it's an ongoing thing in America. I suggest you look it up. Anyway, I do know that this controller has security Torx bits. Fortunately, I have them. It would be possible to improvise something to take the screws out. If you have the right tool for the job, though, I would suggest you use it. This is only about £20. It's got all the spudgers and bits and pieces you need, tweezers, an anti-static wrist strap, which I definitely won't be using for this. That's purely laziness on my part, really. Generally, unless I'm working on something really expensive, I tend not to bother. What I'll do is just go and touch a radiator, which is grounded. That'll remove all the static, and I can just kind of walk back to where I'm working without scuffing my feet in the carpet to avoid building up static. So just don't shuffle back to your chair, I suppose. So yeah, I'm going to pick out my tools, and then I'll pick this back up when I'm ready to take it apart. Okay, so I've picked out what I think I'm going to need for this, hopefully. This is just going to be a bit of a live, kind of candid experience of what you might come to expect when you're going to do it. I'm not a huge fan of videos where they make it an awful lot easier than, or make it look a lot easier than it actually is. Just while I'm taking these batteries out, they are rechargeable. Panasonic Eneloop batteries are absolutely brilliant. If you're looking to buy rechargeable batteries, I wouldn't recommend anything else. Yeah, so that's obviously the controller powered down now, so it's okay to take it apart, although you'd never get electrocuted by a AA battery, or I wouldn't imagine you would. You'd have to be working pretty hard, but it's just a case of gently prying. Again, I'd watch what tools you use for this. You don't want to mark up the edges. Obviously, with the nature of it being a controller, it's going to make for an unpleasant experience if you do mar the surfaces. You'll be able to feel it when you're using it. If you do mark it, maybe scrape it off with a knife or something like that, just so you make the edge flush. But that's one side popped out at least. Again, I've done a bit of research on this. Apparently these clips are fairly sturdy, so you shouldn't damage them taking them off. I'll just pick that up. So yeah, that's fine. No broken tabs. Fairly strong, so you shouldn't do too much damage taking it off. It's just going to be a rinse and repeat for the other side. Just ignore my hacking away at it here, but unfortunately some things are designed to come apart, some things aren't. This is probably designed for ease of assembly in the factory, as opposed to being easy for the likes of you and I to take apart. I don't have any of the guitar picks. Guitar picks are very useful for this purpose here. So as you pry the tabs out, you can leave something in there just to hold it out while you work your way around. Again, I do have some next door, to be honest, but I'm sure I'll get by. Okay, that needs released from the top, I think. There you go. Again, despite me being extremely rough, this is absolutely fine. So, all good. I think we're done with these for now. We just need to pick what size the security Torx is. Looking at it, I'm going to try a T9 to start. Probably better to have this on hand. Anyone think I've done this before? So yeah, T9 security is what's in here. Unfortunately, I think this will doing this will void the warranty. There is, so far as I know, yep, there's a screw behind that sticker, so unfortunately we're not getting away with that one. This controller is more than a year old, which is what I assume to be the warranty period, so no big issue there. Like I say, it's not working anyway, so you can't break something that's already broke. Hopefully this will be a fairly quick and straightforward process. I can get back to my gaming, so let's see if I can burst this. There we go. I like to do it like that rather than cutting it or trying to peel the sticker, because you can actually just leave the screw poking out like that and kind of minimise the damage. Just hoping this will lift off quite nicely. There we go. Screw number 4, so that's 4 screws around there, one right in the centre. As you can see, it's nicely held just by the back of that sticker. So now we're into the main guts of it, and this immediately looks like it's going to be easier than I thought it was. Oh no, maybe not. That's a faceplate straight off, which was somewhat unexpected, but unfortunately I can still feel the stickiness behind here. So yeah, that's going to have to come apart a bit further. You can see the screw heads just poking up. So there's 1, 2, 3 there, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Yeah, so I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, so the board's in 2 pieces. You can see there's an RF antenna there connecting the 2 boards. It's soldered on this side and it's just connected there. Just pull that off with my finger, that's easy enough. Could have used a tool on that, but I prefer not to put tools near things if I can avoid it. These are almost certainly smaller screws as well. I did see another video that recommended that you desolder these wires. However, I think it must have been a different type of controller, because these just pop out. There's foam pads in there. These are obviously the rumble vibration motors, so you don't want them having metal against plastic. Obviously that would just vibrate and become annoying. So I'm just going to get the correct size of Torx. Pretty small, so what have we got here? Is it 1.5? Let's see. Nope, not as lucky this time. T6, there we go. I think that Torx bit must have been in the wrong bit, because I don't think there's such a thing as a 1.5 Torx, but there we go. Perfect, so that's a T6. So T6 and T9 are the two that you'll need. I'll just pop them over there. You can see just here there's some what looks like header pins. I think there's some more underneath this board as well. So we'll just continue taking these out and see if it wants to play ball. There we go. Another one there. Again, I've got the tweezers just for jobs like this, but not necessarily required. Fingers are fine, especially if you've got smaller hands than I have. Really don't want to take these triggers off if I can avoid it, purely because they've got a spring. Anyone that's ever taken anything apart will know, or anything with a spring in it will know, that it's not a good place to be when the spring goes flying across the room. This is popped out. I don't think there's anything else holding it in. It's just, well, there is some wires for the front panel there, so I'll just give them some slack. So this isn't going to come right off, but hopefully we won't need it to come right off. Now I think maybe what's holding that in. Oh dear. Headphone jack, that's just looks like an interference fit. I believe that just goes in there, so we get sandwiched underneath the board, so that's going to have to go back in. But it's, for the time being, it's just popped out. It's very difficult to see what's retaining it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's beneficial to take these thumbsticks off first. There's a lesson there. And it's out. So that has revealed some more screws in the front. They look to be exactly the same size. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Strangely, no support on this side of the board, even though there is a button underneath it. So we'll just take these out. These are the ones that I saw in the front. And yeah, sure enough, they're exactly the same size as the other board, so that's one to remember. They can just go in the same pile as the ones for the rearmost board. You don't have to worry about segregating. There we go, number 2. Unfortunately, this screwdriver does appear to be slightly magnetic, which is a huge advantage. Yeah, there we go. So it just sticks on the end, which is perfect. You can see your battery terminals there. Again, you may or may not have to be, in this instance, careful with it. I have in the past seen it when you try to put a faceplate back on and one of these terminals ends up on the wrong side of the plastic, and then you screw it together and it's all bent, and it just ends up being a bit of a fiasco. So what's retaining this here, we've got not much that I can see. There we go. So the D-pad is retained by a spring. It looks like a return spring there, so you have to pull the board from the back, don't push the buttons on the front. And sure enough, we have some coffee stains. So I will cut here. I'll go get something to clean it up, and I will pick this up in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I'm trying a slightly new position for the lavalier microphone. So hopefully this will work, and it should just sound the same, but we'll see. I can always try and edit it a bit in post and change the levels or whatever. So I've got a small dish of filtered water. This is as close to deionized as I have. Some cotton buds or Q-tips if you're in the States. some people might be absolutely screaming at me for using water for this. However, I would say that coffee is water soluble, and also as long as this is dry enough and it's powered down, which it is, it should be absolutely fine. I don't really have any concerns. So just gently start taking this off. Obviously this isn't the board and shouldn't affect it too much, apart from the fact that it may be causing it to stick. But again, this is just looks like a small membrane. Yeah, that's coming off quite nicely. I did see some corrosion here, but it doesn't look like it's from the coffee incident. Yeah, I actually forgot to mention earlier, cutting a picture of where the cup sits, just so you can see just how stupid a place it is to leave it. However, I don't intend that. I'm changing that anytime soon, because I do like to sit at my computer with a cup of coffee immediately on hand. So yeah, I'll just have to deal with the fact that I may have to do things like this now and again, which is fine. It makes for good videos. Yeah, I've not seen an awful lot else on this board, but maybe that corrosion was part of the coffee incident. It did seem to come off very well, so yep. I suppose this is a fairly intricate task, but just try that off a little bit. There we go. The ambient temperature can do the rest. That'll evaporate absolutely fine. You can just see a couple of other bits there. It probably wants a new cotton bud. Let's see if there's anything on the back. Yep, a little bit around the battery terminal. Oh, that looks quite nasty actually. Don't know what that is. Possibly corrosion. It has been sat for a couple of weeks. I smelled the coffee and didn't realise it was on the controller. Didn't use it for a while, and then went to use it this morning and discovered that it no longer worked. So yeah, that seems okay. Just good to get the contaminants off, because it prevents further corrosion. In future, I will have isopropyl alcohol for doing this. Just while I do have it in bits, a bit of interesting design there with these membrane pads, or the rubber part. One of the buttons actually goes onto a different board, so that must be the B, because it's significantly longer. But yeah, that fits in there like that. So 3 on here and then 1 further down, which must be due to sizing constraints. The controller tapers off that way. So I'm just going to continue to go through this, identifying bits and cleaning it. It's probably, it would make for too long a video to sit and watch every last bit of it. So yeah, but I'm just going to be doing the buttons, obviously down the sides, the insides here around the controller shell. They'll probably be sticky, and also in here, just the outer perimeter there around the inside, and hopefully that will free it up enough to work properly again. Well, I'm back now. I've cleaned most of it out. I'm still just doing the last little bits, but I've done all the buttons and everything. I'm just doing inside here. Unfortunately, I forgot to film or record the audio for the last clip, so I'm probably going to have to use the iPhone audio. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that through the whole video for consistency, or see what the two are like for comparison's sake. It might be quite interesting just to throw the iPhone audio right in the middle of the video and see if it's significantly different. I do use a Zoom H1N, as I said before, and a lavalier microphone that I bought for £8 on Amazon. Bit of a bargain, I suppose. It's only a bargain if it works well. So I do have a Google image of an Xbox controller in front of me, just to make sure I get these buttons the right way around. I could do a PlayStation 1 in my sleep, but an Xbox I can never remember where the buttons go. So there we go. Now these are tabbed to prevent idiots like me putting in the wrong place, and hopefully they've had the foresight to make the buttons only fit in one slot as well, i.e. you can't put X where Y is supposed to be and so on. So let's try and put Y in the wrong place, spin it around, and it doesn't work in any orientation. So well done at Microsoft. Saved people like myself, or more likely people in the factory, from making a mess of it, which is absolutely great. Look at that straight in. Perfect. And it's the A button. But they all feel perfectly free now. And they've had a bit of a clean, so hopefully when it goes back together that'll be fine. Now there's 2 tabs on this one, and there's 2 on that one and 3 on this one, so this will go in here. Now giving up looking at the picture, I'm just go by the tabs of full faith that Microsoft had put tabs on every one. This is probably going to be the most frustrating part of it, I would imagine. There we go, so just got the X to go in now. Excellent. Okay, next part to go in. It's going to be this little circuit board here. I don't know whether it's best to put the membrane on first, like so. Yeah, that'll hold it nicely in place while I position the board. A few little momentary switches there, not really sure what they would be for. They don't seem to align to anything. It must be the bumpers for the triggers. Yeah, let's put this in. Just trying to think this. I should have put this in here first. There we go. Nope, that could go in from the front. So put it back. I made a mistake, so you don't have to. Okay, so a definite lesson there. This plastic piece on the top was what was stopping me getting the circuit board in. So once you remove this, this just falls in and out. It's no problem at all. Yeah, so that was what was preventing me. So sometimes you've got to take things further apart to get them back together. Lesson there for everyone, I guess. There is a wireless button here, so you got to make sure that that's in place. However, it doesn't seem to fall out. The other thing is that the 2 momentary switches on the other side are actually for the bumpers. So yeah, you can see them there. So that's that. So I'm just going to continue to reassemble this. Be careful to hold that. Now that works. That works. And that works. So you just need to make sure that's all the way in. That's going to want to go on the back first, I think. Is it? No. Or somewhere. Or something like this. So it's clipped on the back, round onto the front. You just need to be careful to try and hold everything together. And why is it not? There we go, one side and the other. Bumpers, triggers. Button is not sticking. The B obviously doesn't work because the back circuit board's not on, but these are working. D-pad. So yeah, not so bad so far. Now we can just make sure that this wire for the The antenna is right out the way. There's your B button there. So we've got two headers to connect to. There's one there, which corresponds to that. And there's a header here. Where is that? Oh. Interesting. It doesn't appear to attach to anything. Didn't actually pull any pins out. I wonder if it's a diagnostic port for the factory or something along those lines, possibly. Yeah, it could well be. So just need to try and slide this back in. Align it with the headers and press it down. Wi-Fi antenna still out the way. I appreciate this might not be easy to see on camera, but I can almost see it. There we go. Sure enough, that connector doesn't connect to anything, or it's possible it could be a port inside the battery tray for a battery pack. There's 4 pins on here. Let's see if there's something that corresponds to it on the inside of the rear shell. Yes, there is. So that's likely what that is. So now we can place our motors pack where they should be. Something like that. I can stop stretching these wires, which probably isn't doing them any favours, but I'll probably get away with it. Fold these in, and there's a hole in the capped on tape here, just to replace this antenna. Again, very fiddly task. Oh, there we go, straight on, no problems. What I have just realised I've forgotten is this this port here. This is for the headphones. There's metal contacts there, so hopefully I'll just be able to pick this up, slide it in. With any luck, it won't be as frustrating as everything else has been on this. Oh, it's hard to tell if that's right or not. Guess time's going to have to tell with that one. I'll have a look and see if there's any retaining parts in here. It does seem to... Oh no, that's completely the wrong place. The D-pad's under there, that's why it doesn't fit. Okay, so it slides between the two boards. Well, that's unfortunate. I'm going to have to take it apart again. Not to worry. Hopefully, just splitting the header will suffice. Unbelievably fiddly job this. But there we go, and it's in. And I'll just check the header's engaged. That's fine. Everything sits nicely, buttons still work, nothing's fallen out. So it's time to put the screws back in. Well, for those of you that didn't already know this, assembling things in the right order definitely helps. Yeah, some of you may have longer memories than I do, but yeah, just make sure you put in the 5 screws on the front board before you try and put the back board on, otherwise you won't be able to get them in. That's fairly obvious. Also, this headphone jack actually sits quite nicely there, so you can just lay that in place, and then that will make contact with these pads here. So just be careful not to bend these pins, and it should just lay down fairly nicely. As you can see, I've already had it together, but I had to take it apart again. But like I said before, I make mistakes, so you won't do the same stupid thing. So there we go, that goes together a lot better now. Helps if you don't knock the headphone jack. There we go. Back, press into the header. Lay this down again and put the rumble motors back in. So you don't want to pinch the wires there. Something like that will probably do it. There we go. That wire's okay. Again, the antenna's going to have to go back on. I'll just apply my tweezers. Perfect. There we go. And now hopefully I won't have any leftover screws. Although you usually do. So I'm just going to again carry on with this. You don't need to watch me driving the screws in for the next 15 minutes. And I'll cut to the next part that's of interest. Well, I'm back. Screws are in. It's looking good. Just ready to put the case on now, really. So it's just a final check. These are the momentary switches I pointed out earlier. You can see how they operate with the bumpers. Triggers, fine, nice and smooth and free. And the buttons are no longer sticking. These analog sticks are working fine, although they do have this interesting thing where they can retain. Let's just show you this. If you take that off, it actually sticks to the corners. Looks like it's meant to do that, so I wouldn't worry too much. It doesn't really affect it. When the controller's back together, that'll limit the movement anyway. So yeah, if you do come across that, don't worry, it's not broken. It'll just hit off the side there and it'll stop it going all the way. But while it's off, it allows it to go too far. So that's fine. Yeah, everything looks good. I'll just lay at the front case, drop this back in. No problem at all. Yep, absolutely fine. So there we go. Just need to try and see if there's going to be any pinching of the wires when this goes back on. You can see there's retainers in the moulding for the motors. So obviously you don't want your wires going across the top of here because they'll get pinched. There seems to be plenty of room at the back for this wiring here, so it should go on with no issues, I hope. So just see. And this is where the battery terminals. This is where it's useful to have that screw in the middle because you've got one already in place, just to be screwed down now. It's not feeling the best there. People normally say if it takes force to go together, then you probably haven't got it right, but in my experience that's not always the case with controllers. It can be very difficult, finicky to put together. This one is proven to be no different. It's not right at all. Like I say, if you can see me doing something wrong, it might prevent you from doing it, so a worthwhile endeavour nonetheless. How do you want to go together? Of course, this part here doesn't look right, but once the battery cover's on, that will cover that up. So I'm going to safely assume that's in the correct position now. Everything seems to fit together okay. Once you've got the plastic covers on, it should be fine. Battery terminals are not on the wrong side, so that's always a good sign as well. So I'll just finish off here, and we'll see if it works. But there we go. Back to what I wanted to be doing originally. Only 3 hours later than expected, but everything's fine. Tested all the buttons, everything's working great, so that's an absolute win. You'll be pleased to see I've not learned my lesson. Coffee's exactly where it originally sat. That's not going to change anytime soon, so there may be a second repair video, possibly the keyboard, who knows. Yeah, so all good. Thanks for watching.